Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day or ITV Hub or all four, but you get that message that says this content is not available in your location, a Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Monday. It is the 15th of April. And on this day, we do remember the 97 people who lost their lives, the Hillsborough tragedy, on this day in 1989. So I hope you all keep those 97 brave souls in your thoughts on this day. We had quite the weekend in the Premier League. Some surprising results, some incredibly good performances, and some really, really poor performances. So let's jump straight in. Newcastle United 4, Tottenham 0. Alexander Isak opens the scoring on 30 minutes, sitting down Sven Botman. Anthony Gordon would double the lead 2 minutes later. I said Sven Botman, I meant Mickey van de Ven. Anthony Gordon doubled the lead 2 minutes later, sitting down Mickey van de Ven for the second time in 2 minutes. Isak would make it 3 on 51 and Fabian Schär would make it 4 on 87 with a header. What was notable about the first 3 goals was how simple it was for Newcastle. Simple balls over the top of Tottenham's defence, which, as we know, plays a very high-risk brand of football, plays very high up the pitch. Tottenham had 73% of the ball in this game. But Newcastle had 18 shots to Tottenham's 11, 5 on target to Tottenham's 2. And this was a Spurs team that was pretty much at full strength. You've got Vicario, you've got Porro, Romero, Van de Ven and Adoigi. That's their best defence. Basuma and Bentancur played. Now, they're, I think, a lot better when it's Basuma and Pape Matar Sarr, but Bentancur is no bum. And then you've got Brennan Johnson, James Maddison, Timo Werner, and Heung-min Son. Now, Kulusevski should be in that team. And Richarlison, I think, would be in the team if fit, and Timo Werner would come out of it. Werner could have put Spurs 1 up, and that likely changes the entire outcome of the game. But it was just also easy for Newcastle to clip balls over the top, not pumping it long from back to front, but clipping balls from midfield over the top of the Tottenham defence and just having their way with them. Really, really impressive. I thought out of possession, Newcastle were excellent as well, made it very hard for Spurs to break them down, which was impressive when you look at that back line. And you've got Jacob Murphy at right back, he's a winger. Emil Kraft at centre back, he's a full back. Fabian Schär playing on the wrong side of the centre back pairing, and then Dan Burn at left back. Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes and Elliot Anderson, I thought were all excellent in midfield and worked very, very hard. And I was glad to see Eddie Howe go with the Gordon, Isak, Barnes front three, which for me should always be their front three. You've got the pace and direct nature of Gordon and Barnes, and then the brilliance of Isak, who, if it wasn't for injuries, I think would be certainly £100 million target for some big clubs. Newcastle are a big club, but some, elite level clubs this summer. He may still be. There's been rumours of Arsenal and Chelsea having interest. There's a lot of Liverpool fans clamouring for him to be a target. The injuries with him would worry me. He's having a very good season. He has 13 non-penalty goals, 17 goals in total in the Premier League. He's only got the 1 assist, which I think is more down to teammates not finishing particularly well. But the thing that does worry me is the injuries. Like, he's got immense touch, great control. His dribbling's really good. His finishing's pretty clinical. He's very good at bringing teammates in. His movement is good. But if you look at his injuries, last season he missed 16 games through a thigh injury. And in a season where Newcastle, I believe, let me just double check this, I believe played 45 games in all competitions. Yeah, 46 games in all competitions. He only played in 27. Now, admittedly, there's probably 1 or 2 games there where he was rested. But if I look at his performances, he's just not in the squad for a lot of these games. Like, last season, I know that the early rounds of the cups and stuff, you generally wouldn't play a player like him. You'd be holding him back, but they were going for the cup final last year. They were challenging for trophies last year, and it felt to me like there was just games where they could have done with him, and he. So last season, he's not in the squad for the Wolves game, the opening game of the season. He plays 3 games, and then he's out. He's out through all of October, all of November, all of December. Would have been a lot more games that he would have missed if not for the World Cup. Comes back, plays 2 games, and he misses a game. And then he was ever present, to his credit, for the remainder of the league campaign. He missed the early rounds of the EFL Cup with the injury as well. So I do just feel like there was probably more that he could have done. There was more games he could have played in there. This season hasn't had a serious injury, but has had multiple smaller injuries. And again, just hasn't been as available as you'd maybe like him to be. So in all competitions this year, he's played 34 games. But the Toon, they've played 45. So that's 11 games this year that he hasn't played in. I know he was on the bench and didn't play in the Brentford game. But misses 3 late October into November, misses a game in December, misses 3 games last month. That's just in the league. Missed 2 games in the cup as well. So 10 games missing from the matchday squad. Like that's the type of thing that would concern me, just repetitive injuries. Tremendous player, though. Absolutely tremendous. And like I said, Toon, great value for their win. Brentford 2, Sheffield United 0. Not the most aesthetically pleasing of games, but a massive win for Brentford. An Ollie Arblaster own goal, very unfortunate, on 63, and then a late Frank Onyeka goal. Lovely little flick by Kevin Shade. Good to see him and Onyeka back fit. Big win for Brentford. Moves them up to 32 points. Now 7 points clear of Luton, who sit in 18th. So that's huge. I should have mentioned Newcastle, with their win, actually jumped Manchester United to move into 6th. Spurs stay 5th, or drop to 5th with the results as they went this weekend. They did have a goal difference advantage on Villa. They do not have a goal difference advantage anymore. Sheffield United, I mean, the one positive we can say about them is that they didn't concede 3 goals. Like, that's really all I can come up with. They've now conceded 84 goals from 32 games. They've got 6 games left. They need to try and avoid conceding 16 goals in those 6 games. Those games are Burnley home. Shouldn't concede many in that one. Manchester United away. Potentially that's one they ship a few. Toon away. Could definitely see Toon scoring 3 or 4 or 5. Forest at home. Forest are team capable of scoring a couple of goals there. Everton away. If ever there was a 1-0 game, that's probably it. And Spurs on the final day. Spurs are capable of going there and hammering them. Like, there's a real chance they get to the 100-goal mark. There really is. Like, let's say Toon get 4, Spurs get 4, United get 3. That means they've only got 5 goals to play with for Burnley, Forest, and Everton. Everton will get 1. I think Forest could get 2. Burnley, the way they're playing as well, potentially they can get a couple. Yeah, I don't like their chances. I don't like their chances at all. They're going to end up, statistically, they're going to end up the worst defence in Premier League history, almost certainly, even if they don't get to the 100-goal tally. Moving on, Man City 5, Luton Town 1. Hashioka with an own goal on 2 minutes. Erling Haaland missed a chance, then had a second chance. His volley was going a mile wide. It hit Hashioka in the face and redirected itself into the net. And he had the goal to throw his arms up and celebrate like he'd scored. And the City announcer over the tannoy credited the goal to Erling Haaland. That shot was probably going out for a throw-in. It was so far off the target. Kovacic scored on 64 to make it 2. Luton had done pretty well to keep City at bay. Kovacic scored a stunner. Then Doku wins a penalty on 76 and Haaland does score. Doku himself scores on 87, but only after Ross Barkley had pulled one back for Luton. And then Josko Gvardiol, who scored a stunner in Madrid, scores another stunner here, again with his right foot. And City run out comprehensive winners. Nottingham Forest 2, Wolves 2. I think Forest will be a little bit disappointed with this one. Matthias Cunha had put Wolves 1 up on 40 minutes. Morgan Gibbs-White with a header just before half-time. Danilo put Forest 2-1 up on 57. Gibbs-White does brilliantly, breaks into the box. Really good tackle. The ball breaks to Danilo and he finishes well. But then Cunha takes advantage of just some sloppy defending and makes it 2-2 on 62. I thought this was a game that Forest really should be winning at home against a mid-table team with very little to play for. But look, they'll take the point and they'll move on. Given the Luton result, it means they are now a point ahead and significantly ahead in terms of goal difference. So that's a boost for them. For Wolves, 43 points. They're 11th. Their season has been a success no matter what happens from here. I think we might see them hit the beach quite soon. But look, Gary O'Neill seems to be very, very good at getting his players up for games and motivating them and having them in the right mindset. So maybe not. City, with their results, move top. 2 points clear of Liverpool and Arsenal, but of course they were to play a day later. And we'll come to both of those. Burnley won, Brighton won. Not a particularly good game. Josh Brownhill opened the scoring on 74 minutes. It's a bad mistake by Baliba. Underhits a pass. Verbruggen maybe could have come out and tried to smother the ball. He comes out and tries to slide clear it. And he kicks it straight off Brownhill and it goes in. But 5 minutes later, for the second week in a row, is it the second week in a row or 2 out of 3? Muric is the villain for Burnley. Simple ball played back to him, and he does an Enkelman, Paul Robinson, and just miscontrols it, and the ball runs under his boot and into the back of the net, and there's no real reason to dig into that game anymore. Burnley actually should have scored early in the game through Datro Fofana, but that's about the height of it. Burnley 4 points ahead of Sheffield United, but 5 short of Luton. They're going down. Everybody knows they're going down. And now it's just a matter of kind of rescuing some pride. Brighton are 10th. They have not won in 4. They do not look particularly cohesive at the moment. They do not look like a team that has any real self-belief. They do look like the injuries have taken their toll. They do look like Europe has taken its toll on their legs. But there's just something not clicking with them. And that's a shame for them. They are at risk now of falling as far as 13th. There's only 2 points separating them and Fulham and Bournemouth, who sit 12th and 13th. They're a point ahead of Wolves. Would be no surprise, really, if they were to drop into that bottom half. Moving on. Bournemouth 2, Manchester United 2, a very undeserved point for United. Solanke opens the scoring on 16 minutes. Bruno Fernandes takes advantage of a fortunate bounce. Ball drops to him and he leathers at home on 31. Justin Kluivert puts Bournemouth 2-1 back, 2-1 in front on 36. United's defence for both goals is just so bad. I mean, Kambwala just falls over for the first one. And then Maguire seems to run away from Solanke rather than coming across to help his centre-back partner. I understand that there's a pass on potentially, but you can't just let Solanke walk towards goal and then shoot with no challenge. And then Kluivert picked the ball up and just kind of toddled into United's box while the defenders backed off, and he just lashed it in the bottom corner. United would get their equaliser on 65. This is one of the worst penalty decisions you're ever going to see. It's an absolute disgrace, being completely honest with you. There's a shot by a United player which takes a deflection and it ricochets into a Bournemouth player and hits him in the arm. And there's just no way it's a penalty. There's just absolutely no way it's a penalty. But it was given. Up steps Fernandez. He scores. Bournemouth were awarded a penalty in stoppage time, but VAR check showed that the foul took place just ever so slightly outside of the box. Now, this is something I'm confused about because I do remember a few years ago we had this whole thing of even if the foul starts outside the box, if it continues into the box, it's a penalty. So Ryan Christie knocks the ball past Kumbuala and goes to run round him the other way. Kumbuala blocks him. Christie continues his forward momentum and then Kumbuala pulls him to the ground inside the box. The initial block is outside. The pulling to the ground is inside. So I really don't know how that works. I'm sure Dale Johnson will have an explanation up on his Twitter feed later today. Look, Bournemouth, their season has been great for them. 42 points. Safe as houses. They have been for weeks. Last season, you'll remember 39 points. Lost 4 games in a row to end the season. Had basically one good run that kept them safe. This season, I think they've just been a consistently better team. And there's a real chance for them to get to 50 points here, which would be a huge achievement. United, they drop to 7th behind Newcastle. And if you look at things like expected points, they're like 13th in the league this year. They're a very poor team. They're very poorly coached. They're very poor defensively. They're very poor in attack. They allow far too many shots. Like once again, at the weekend, 20 shots by Bournemouth. 20. And then some strange things took place. Kobe Mainu tweeted or maybe Instagrammed the "if I speak" emoji or the mouth zipped one, whichever. Diogo Dalot disagreed with his manager, who had said that them allowing so many shots was not an issue. And Anthony Garnacho, on his official Twitter account, which now he may not run, let's be clear on that, he may not run that Twitter account. That might be run by an independent company or a family member, which is often the case. That Twitter account liked some tweets from Mark Goldbridge, which were quite critical of the manager and his treatment of Garnacho at the weekend. Now, his treatment of Garnacho was poor. Garnacho did give the ball away for Bournemouth's opener, but then he played a big part in United's equaliser. And he was hooked. And he did seem to get some of the blame in the post-match, but the treatment was poor. Goldbridge's tweets, to be fair to him, were pretty spot on. It is just interesting that Garnacho's account liked them. We'll see if anything more comes of that. United will probably try and shut it down. On to Sunday then, West Ham 0, Fulham 2. Andreas Pereira on 9 minutes after Mavropanos' error. He scored again on 72 from a Iwobi cross. Nice low cross that he just tapped in. Frankly, Fulham should have won this game 5-0. They should have won this game 5-0. They were all over. West Ham had more of the ball, but every time Fulham got the ball, they just carved through West Ham with incredible ease. Now, West Ham obviously have a huge European game coming during the week, so maybe that's why certain players did not play. But at the same time, still a strong 11 out there. Still a strong 11. So don't really understand how West Ham were so poor. hopefully, young George Earthy, who came on 82 minutes to replace Antonio and had to be taken off 9 minutes later after a fairly nasty injury. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Young player, 19 years of age, just getting started in the game. It was a clash of heads, like a head injury. So hopefully he's going to be okay. And he has left hospital today. He was kept in overnight. And hopefully he's going to be okay. We will continue to monitor him over the next couple of days as he completes a gradual return to play program. That was his Premier League debut. Fingers crossed there's no lasting impact from that. Mikel Antonio had the best chance of the game for West Ham. And this is why nobody can ever take him seriously when he talks about himself as a top striker. Like, all he needs to do is just gently lift the ball over a prone goalkeeper, and instead he lashes it about 10 yards over the bar from 12 yards out. Dreadful stuff. Speaking of dreadful stuff, West Ham dropped to 8th in the league, with Newcastle overtaking them. Fulham are 12th. They've gone above Bournemouth. Better goal difference. With that win, first win in 3 for them. They'd first win in 4 because they hadn't won in the previous 3. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, speaking of awful, Liverpool 0, Crystal Palace 1. Ebery Chieze opens the scoring on 14 minutes, and after that, Liverpool conspired to just not score. Darwin Núñez had a good chance, a swivelling volley. Made great connection with the ball. It's a really good save. Núñez maybe should do better, but you just turn and hit it. You just turn and hit it from there. And he did, and it was saved. Actually, we should go back. First half. Luis Diaz had a decent chance. Keeper made a good save. That was about the height of it. Second half, there's the Núñez chance. Mo Salah has a really good chance, which is a weak finish. Diogo Jota has a really good chance after coming off the bench. Dominic Szoboszlai squares it to him. All he needs to do is put it either side of the defender, because the goalkeeper's out of the picture. He hits it straight at the defender. And Curtis Jones was the biggest offender in terms of missed chances. Gakpo off the bench squares one brilliantly from the right. Jones strides onto it. It's a simple finish. And he kicks the air. And then a few minutes later, Gakpo plays him through. He's through 1v1 with the goalkeeper. I think he just loses his head and he passes it wide of the post. Liverpool should have won the game. But huge credit to Palace, who fully deserved their win for the effort, the game plan and the work rate that they put in. Defensively, they were really, really rigid, really solid. But Liverpool did open up a few times, but just not able to take advantage of it. So it seemed like a hugely disastrous result for Liverpool, because they could have gone top ahead of City with Arsenal still to play. And obviously the important thing in the Premier League is staying ahead of City. If you finish ahead of City, you will win the league. Instead, Liverpool lost the game. And before Arsenal even kicked the ball, Liverpool were still behind them and in third place on points, but with a worse goal difference. But then we got what I predicted a few weeks ago, and then went off, changed my mind and thought Arsenal would win comfortably because of Villa's injuries at the moment, some of the suspensions with Douglas Luiz, and the fact that they've got such a big European game on Thursday. I thought we might see Villa rest a few players. Nothing of the sort took place. Villa were brilliant from start to finish and beat Arsenal 2-0. Leon Bailey on 84 minutes and Ollie Watkins 3 minutes later. After a tremendous performance and a tactical masterclass from Unai Emery, they really limited Arsenal. Arsenal had 4 shots on target in the entire game, and only one of them actually troubled the goalkeeper. Villa hit the post once in the first half. Ollie Watkins, he probably should score. And then Tielemans hits the crossbar and post in the same shot in the second half. So Villa could easily have been 2-0 up much earlier. Arsenal never really opened them up, never really caused them any trouble, never created much of anything. I saw Mikel Arteta say the first half was one of the best halves, or not, maybe the best half they've played all season. That is nonsense. He said they could have scored 3, 4, or 5 goals. Well, that's a crock of shit. Piers Morgan, a dreadful gang of lads, he came out after the game and said it was Arsenal's lack of a top number 9. It really wasn't, because the chances didn't fall to the number 9. Saka had a chance. Trossard had a chance. Jesus was not the chance getter. He was more the chance maker. Now, Martin Odegaard was really good in the first half, but no other Arsenal player can claim to have been really good. Villa caused them huge amounts of trouble. Morgan Rogers and Zaniolo, 2 6-foot-plus wingers that Villa were able to use almost as target men to ping the ball out to. They were able to hold it up, get players around them, be it Digne overlapping from the left or Diaby playing wide on the right, and progress the ball quite easily. And then obviously they had the Watkins option as well. Villa were outstanding in this game from start to finish. Man to man, they were brilliant. There's no Villa player that walks out of there yesterday with less than an 8 out of 10. And particular mention for the 2 boys, Zaniolo and Rogers, because the work rate, the hold-up play, absolutely fantastic. Diaby caused Arsenal problems. Then Bailey came on for him and caused them even more problems. He took his goal very well. Watkins took his goal brilliantly. Ollie Watkins is having an incredible season. And as I said on Twitter yesterday, if he is not the 9 in your team of the season, your team of the season is nonsense. Performance-wise, he has been far better than Erling Haaland this year. And there's only 1 goal between them. And Watkins has a lot more assists. Ollie Watkins has been the best number 9 in the Premier League this season. And if he's not in your team of the year, you've done your team of the year wrong. Now, that defeat is massive for Arsenal and led to quite the meltdown on social media last night. They went from this incredibly joyous moment where Liverpool lost to Palace to this despondent, hating the world, hating everybody, slagging off the manager, slagging off the players, valley within 2 hours. It was magnificent to see, especially those dreadful set of lads over on pitch side. It was just fantastic. It really was. Villa, what a performance. What an absolutely outstanding performance. And they now sit 4th. They're 3 points ahead of Spurs with a superior goal difference now. And Spurs do have a game in hand. It's against Chelsea. It's tough to see them winning that game 3-0. It really is. Now, if they won it 4-1, and again, it's tough to see them doing that either. If they won it 4-1, they'd go ahead of Villa. If they won it 3-0, I think they go ahead of Villa on head-to-head because they've conceded the same number of goals. If Spurs beat Chelsea 3-0, they'd have scored the same number of goals. They'd have 19 wins, 6 draws, 8 defeats each, and 63 points each. So I think it would go on head-to-head. Now, obviously, Spurs did batter Villa at Villa Park. I don't remember the result at Tottenham, but it certainly wasn't a heavy win either way, I don't think. Villa won 2-1. Villa won 2-1. But Tottenham won 4-0. So I assume it does go head-to-head, which will put Spurs ahead of Villa. So still a bit of work for Villa to do. But Bournemouth home, Chelsea home, they'll be confident of winning both of those. They go to Brighton, they get Liverpool home, and they finish off with Palace away. If they win their next three, maybe they take it easy on Liverpool. Is that too much to ask? Unai, I've been one of your biggest cheerleaders all year. Is it too much to ask? How do Spurs finish out? Tottenham is their next game. That's huge. Spurs have much harder running. Spurs have Arsenal next. Arsenal home. They don't play for 2 weeks. Then they go to Chelsea, to Liverpool. Then they play Burnley. There's a really good chance Spurs lose 2 of their next 4 games. Then they play City home. And then they finish with Sheffield United. You would have to say, even with Spurs having the game in hand, it's very much advantage Villa right now in that battle for the 4th spot. Spurs' best hope is going to be that there's a 5th Champions League spot. That's really going to be it for them. They've just had too many games this year where they've conceded too many goals. Like 4-1 home to Chelsea. I know there was circumstance in that one. The 3-3 with City, 4-2 defeat away to Bournemouth, the 3-0 defeat away to Fulham, the 4-0 away to Newcastle. They just... Like, how many clean sheets have they even kept? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clean sheets all season, you know? Now, I think Vicario's been great. And I probably would pick him as my goalkeeper of the year in my team of the season. Purely because Alisson missed so many games. But then when you look at, Dibu Martinez he's been great again. Anyway, we end the week with Manchester City top, 2 points clear of Arsenal. Liverpool. Does anyone see City not winning the league from here? They don't play again in the league until the 25th. They play Brighton. You would expect them to win in Brighton. 3 days later, they go to Forest. And that might be tricky, just that turnaround. But you'd still expect them to win. Then they play Wolves home. They'll win that. They play Fulham away. They'll win that. Spurs is the tricky one. Spurs away on the 14th. And then they play West Ham on the final day. It feels like it could be 5 wins and a draw. Now, for Arsenal, that could be good news because if Arsenal win all 6, they'll likely end up with a superior goal difference to City and they could win the league that way. Arsenal play Wolves next, away. That's tough. Then Chelsea home. That's tough. Spurs away. Very tough. Bournemouth home. Not easy, but they should still win it. United away. That will be difficult because United would love nothing more than to beat Arsenal and ruin their title chances. Although it must be tough for United fans right now because their 3 biggest rivals are the three teams competing for the title. Do you want your neighbours to win it, your most hated rival, or the team with which you had the best rivalry in Premier League history? Very, very tough. And Arsenal finish off with Everton on the final day. That will be a win. However, I feel like this might be 4 wins, a draw, and a defeat at best. At best. Because if they go out to Bayern on Wednesday, having lost to Villa don't discount the possibility that Arsenal crumble completely and lose at Wolves and then lose to Chelsea before they face Spurs. Don't discount that possibility. This team, as we've seen, is mentally fragile. And Guardiola has a huge job on his hands to get them back up for Bayern. And even if they beat Bayern, you still wouldn't put it past Wolves. With how well Gary O'Neill organises that team defensively and the threat they carry on the counter with Cunha and obviously Hwang back. Now, it's a shame there's no Neto. But 4 wins, a draw and a defeat. That's 15 points. No, it's not. It's 13 points. So that would get Arsenal to 84. I have City getting to 80, 88, 89, 89. So for Liverpool, they'd have to win all 6 games and they'd have to outscore City or risk losing on goal difference. Beneath them, it is Villa on 63, Spurs on 60, then a 10-point gap to Newcastle on 50, United also on 50, much worse goal difference. West Ham on 48, Chelsea on 43, but Chelsea have 3 games in hand on West Ham, 2 games in hand on United and Newcastle. Then Brighton, then Fulham, then Wolves, then Fulham, then Bournemouth, Bristol, Brentford, Everton, Forest, Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United. We do have one massive game tonight for Everton. It's not as big a game for Chelsea because the best they're going to do is likely Conference League. And do they really want that hassle next year? Doesn't bring in any money. Do they really want that hassle? But for Everton, a win here could be huge. They'd move 4 points clear of Forest and 5 clear of Luton while still having a game in hand on both. So that would be massive for Everton if they could pull off the win tonight away to Chelsea, which you wouldn't rule out on the basis that Chelsea just find ways to lose at home to bad teams or drop points at home to bad teams. And make no mistake, Everton are a bad team. I think I picked Everton to win 1-0, but I do think Chelsea should win the game. I do. Next weekend is going to be odd. We only have 7 games in the Premier League. 3 of them are Saturday, 4 of them Sunday, because we've got FA Cup semi-finals next weekend. We have United against Coventry is the Sunday game. Man City Chelsea is the Saturday game. So City United final. Didn't we just have that? Maybe United winning the FA Cup would be a good thing. Maybe it would. Might keep Ten Hag in his job. And that's what all football fans should want. I'll be back after the break. Right, welcome back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at there's a Premier League predictor on worldfootball.net/table_calculator/ing-premier-league. And we're going to do a predictor for the rest of the season. Just why not? So we'll start off with the makeup games that are still to be played. So Chelsea, home to Spurs. I'm going to go 3-2 to Spurs in that one. That is from match week 26. Match week 29, there are 6 games to be made up. So Arsenal, Chelsea, I'm going to go 2-2 2-2 because I just think Chelsea play their style of play, Pochettino's way of setting his team up, causes problems for the likes of Arsenal and City, so I'll go 2-2. Wolves against Bournemouth, the Gary O'Neill derby, I will go 2-1 to Wolves. Crystal Palace versus the Toon, I'm actually going to go 2-1 Palace. Everton versus Liverpool will go 2-1 Liverpool. Manchester United against Sheffield United, we're going to go 4-2 to Manchester United. And Brighton versus Man City, we're going 3-1 to Man City. Tonight's game, obviously, Chelsea versus Everton, I'm going to go 2-1 to Chelsea. So, Luton versus Brentford, I'm going to go 2-1 to Luton. Sheffield United, Burnley, we're going to go 2-2. Wolves, Arsenal, will go 2-1 Arsenal. Everton, Nottingham Forest will go 1-1. Villa, Bournemouth, I'm going to go 3-1 Villa. Crystal Palace versus West Ham, I'll go 1-1. Fulham against Liverpool, I'm going to go 1-1. Tottenham City, I'm going to go 3-2 to Spurs. Brighton, Chelsea, 2-1 to Brighton. And Manchester United against Newcastle, we'll go 4-2 to Newcastle, because why not? Match week 35, Liverpool against West Ham, I'm going to back Liverpool to win 3-1. Fulham against Crystal Palace, I'm going to go 2-1 Fulham. Manchester United versus Burnley, will go 3-1 United. Newcastle against Sheffield United, I'm going to go 4-0. Wolves against Luton, we will go 2-0. Everton against Brentford, I'm going to go 1-1. Villa against Chelsea, 2-1 to Villa. Bournemouth, Brighton, we'll go 2-2. Spurs against Arsenal, I'm going 3-1 Tottenham. And Nottingham Forest against City, I'm going 3-1 Manchester City. Luton against Everton, I'm actually going to back Luton to win 2-1 to Luton at home against Everton. Arsenal, Bournemouth, will go 3-1 Arsenal. Brentford against Fulham, 2-2. Brighton against Villa, 3-1 to Villa. Burnley against Newcastle, 2-1 to the Toon. Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. I'm actually going to back Forest to win that one 3-2. City against Wolves will go 3-0 to City, 3-1 to City. Chelsea against West Ham will go Chelsea to win 2-1. Liverpool against Tottenham. I think Liverpool will beat Tottenham at Anfield, so 3-1. And Manchester United, Crystal Palace. We're going 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Match week 37, Fulham against City will go 3-1 to City. Bournemouth against Brentford. We'll go Bournemouth win in that one 2-1. Everton home to Sheffield United. That just stinks of a 1-0 to Everton. Newcastle home to Brighton. I'm going to go 4-1 to the Toon. Spurs home to Burnley. I'll go 4-1 to Spurs. West Ham 3, Luton 1. Wolves against Palace will go 2-2. Forest home to Chelsea. I'm going to go 1-1. Manchester United home to Arsenal. I'm going 2-2. Villa home to Liverpool. I think I'm going to go 2-2 in that one as well. And then final day of the season, Arsenal home to Everton, 5-0. Brentford home to Newcastle will go 1-1. Brighton home to United will go 2-1. Burnley home to Forest will go 2-2. Chelsea home to Bournemouth. Do you know what? We'll go 2-1 to Bournemouth. Palace 1-1 with Villa. Liverpool 3-1 over Wolves. Luton 2-1 over Fulham. Man City 3-0 over West Ham. And finally then, we have Sheffield United against Spurs. And we will go with, you know what, we'll go 5-1 to Spurs. And then we can hit calculate. And hopefully it will calculate it correctly. It does. Right, so Manchester City champions on 88 points. 3 points clear of Liverpool on 85, who are 3 points clear of Arsenal on 82. Then I actually had Spurs coming in fourth, which I don't agree with. So I might have to change one of those. Do you know what? We'll give Villa the win over Palace on the final day. We'll go 2-1 Villa and we'll recalculate that. And that puts Villa fourth on 76. Tottenham fifth on 75. Then Newcastle on 63. Manchester United seventh on 57. Chelsea on 52 in eighth. West Ham 52 in ninth. Brighton 51 in 10th. Wolves 50 in 11th. Bournemouth on 49. Fulham on 47. Crystal Palace on 41. Everton on 40. Forest on 36 and Brentford on 35. Meaning that going down will be Luton by 1 point and a significantly worse goal difference. Burnley on 22 points and Sheffield United on 17, conceding 103 goals. Now, as I was writing or doing this, I got an alert on my phone about Everton. So hang on a second. The takeover of Everton by 777 Partners is on a knife edge ahead of a deadline for a £160 million loan repayment that has sparked fears that the club could be plunged into administration. Oh, wow. So this is from The Telegraph, written by Ben Rumsby. I'm not sure how much of it will let me read. If it might pop up a paywall, but let's see. The takeover of Everton by 777 Partners is on a knife edge ahead of the loan repayment, yada yada. With what Telegraph Sport has been told, the cutoff is Monday at midnight or 5 a.m. British time, Tuesday morning. A deal has not been struck over the money owed by the club to MSP Capital and businessman Andy Bell, founder of the investment platform AJ Bell, and George Downing. It emerged last week that 777 was seeking an extension to that deadline, talks over which sources admitted were likely to go down to the wire. Those talks are said to be being led by Farhad Mashiri, who on Monday was facing losing control of the club and the current sale process unless an agreement was reached, with the loan said to be secured against a 51% stake in his club, or of his stake. There have been reports that those owed money were also eyeing a share of Everton's new stadium in lieu of payment. All this put at risk the takeover by 777, which, to be fair, doesn't seem to have progressed at all. This is the longest takeover I can ever remember. Which is now, they're also owed 160 million. I assume they've secured money elsewhere as well. Club faced further points deduction if loan left unpaid. Pulling the plug on funding that will see Everton through the end of the month would need someone else to step up to avoid the threat of relegation, and a 9-point deduction that could see them relegated after they were docked 8 further points for breaking financial rules. There are conflicting views over the prospect of insolvency, with one source telling Telegraph Sport that Mashiri is committed to preventing the doomsday scenario, either by resuming bankrolling the club himself or finding another buyer. Now, 9 points, based on what I did there messing around, would drop them at the end of the season to 31 points below Luton and send them down. Oh, wow. The latest lengthy delay over a takeover agreement struck with Mashiri almost 7 months ago, following the issue of an ultimatum by the Premier League, which imposed strict conditions on the proposed purchase by a firm that has faced accusations relating to its ability to raise cash and its business practices, which it has repeatedly denied, but offered no alternative view on. Those conditions include that it repays the 160 million loaned by Everton. Oh, so Everton took the loan out, but this new crowd are meant to pay the loan. That they would then deposit 60 million into an escrow account for use by the club, convert loans it has itself made to the club into equity, and proves it has access to sufficient funding to complete the construction of the new stadium. The investment fund, co-founded by Steve Pascoe and Josh Wander, is said to have approached a significant number of lenders, including Blue Owl Capital, a US-based private credit provider. Oh, wow. Very, very interesting. Not great for the Ev. Not great at all. And you know what will infuriate them more than anything is the fact that Chelsea have apparently retrospectively, not during the year that the books are meant to be for, sold a hotel that was owned by Chelsea Football Club, valued at around 30 million, to Blueco for 73 million, which has allowed Chelsea to pass profit and sustainability for the 22-23 season. I mean, that's flagrant cheating. That is flagrant cheating. But it's been allowed by the Premier League, apparently. So if you're Everton, you have to be furious. You really do have to be furious about this prospect. This takeover has always been a little bit spooky, though, hasn't it? Like, nobody's ever really come forward and said, well, this sounds good for Everton, other than Everton fans who are entirely desperate for their club to be out of the hands of Mashiri. At some point, we might have to dig into the worst owners in Premier League history, because Mashiri's up there. And to be fair, Todd Bowley's heading there. Right, I'm going to go to another break. I'll come back. We'll just do the news and gossip and be done for today. Bit of an odd day. My internet's acting up. Zoom is acting up. And every so often, it feels like the windows are going to come in because it starts raining so heavily. So I'll see you after this. Right, welcome back. So Everton have officially lodged their appeal against the second points deduction that they were hit with. They were deducted, obviously, 10 points initially. That was reduced to 6. For their second charge, they were deducted 2 points. They have now decided to appeal that. Seems a bit of an odd one for Everton to appeal this. They'd have been better off just taking it and moving forward. Instead, a club that is broke is now spending significant cash on lawyers and just making more noise that the players don't really need around them. So probably better off focusing on other things, but you never know. It might be raised. That's the risk of this process, is that they might appeal this and it might get raised to 4 points like the Forest one, which is probably what it should have been, in fairness. In truth, they probably should have had more points taken off them over the season because they were allowed to fiddle their books for a couple of years and claim COVID losses that weren't real. So it's only right that they get punished, but I just don't see what grounds they have to really appeal on. So on to gossip anyway. Manchester City are likely to capitalise on Lucas Paqueta's desire to leave West Ham in the summer, but only if the FA drop their investigation into alleged betting breaches That's still going on. It's been all season. Paqueta has an 85 million release clause, becomes active in June, and Manchester City do not expect personal terms to be an issue. City are prepared to spend 120 million on Jamal Musiala. I don't think they will. Liverpool are preparing summer moves for Marcus Edwards and Goncalo Inacio. Inacio maybe, Edwards no chance. Paraguay forward Miguel Almiron and English striker Callum Wilson are among the players that could leave Newcastle as they prepare for the summer rebuild. Okay. Manchester United and Tottenham have both approached Tosin Adarabioyo in an attempt to reach a pre-contract. They actually can't do anything of the sort by rule. So, if they did that, they would risk a tampering charge. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a 13 million target for Inter Milan. I don't see it. Tottenham hope to tie up a quick deal for Conor Gallagher. Again, I don't see how he fits there. He's a downgrade on Basuma, on Matar Sarr, and on Maddison. So what are you going to do with him? Juventus defender Gleison Bremer has a clause in his contract that allows him to leave in the summer of 2025 for 51 million. Pau Cubarsí wants to sign a new contract at the Nou Camp despite interest from big clubs around Europe. It makes sense for him to stay there. Arsenal, Liverpool have joined Bayern Munich in the race for Alejandro Grimaldo. This is an exclusive from Steve Kay, so it's made up. He would be a horrible fit at Arsenal because they play centre-backs at full-back. Thomas Frank has dismissed reports Ivan Toney could leave for as little as 30 million. He's only got 1 year left in his contract. Ross Barkley says he will not consider his future until the summer amid interest from Manchester United. I don't buy the interest from United, but I do buy him in the Premier League again next season. Several Premier League clubs and other clubs around Europe have expressed interest in Mason Greenwood. That's disappointing from them all. Nottingham Forest may have to sell some key players this summer, and Premier Leagues could capitalise by moving for Chris Wood. Okay. Barcelona manager Xavi could yet be persuaded to stay at the club. AC Milan owner Jerry Cardinal has decided against hiring Damian Comoli, probably because he's not good at his job. That would be the reason not to hire Damian Comoli. Fulham, Sheffield United, Southampton and QPR are all plotting a move for Kemar Roofe. He's not a Premier League caliber player. Wolves and Leeds are considering moves for Che Adams, who could be available at the end of the season on a free, or who is available actually at the end of the season on a free. Eric Ten Hag has admitted Harry Maguire wants to play more regularly. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in the frame to be appointed as the next Republic of Ireland manager. So I guess I'll be watching Ireland games for a while. On to Sunday. Manchester United are preparing to sell Anthony this summer. To who? Manchester United are lining up an £80 million bid for Jared Branthwaite. He's really good. 80 million off one season is mental. Has nobody learned anything? Inter Milan are interested in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Ruben Amorim will be given time to implement his playing style. I think that's obvious. Arsenal are keen to bring in a striker to provide competition for Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz, with Joshua Zirkzee among their top targets. That one I can see far more than Osimhen, Gyökeres, because he doesn't have a buyout, so you can stagger the payments across an extended period. I would point out, though, he's having a really good season. He's playing really well. He's only scored 11 goals in 31 games. He's not a big-time goal scorer as yet. He did have he has had a really good run of late, but still, Manchester United's could attempt to buy Ivan Toney. Tosin Adarabioyo is attracting interest from Tottenham, West Ham, and AC Milan. Fulham and West Ham are considering a move for Panathinaikos' 24-year-old striker Fotis Ioannidis, who's valued at 15 million. Tottenham are ready to step up their efforts to sign Ederson of Atalanta. Well, first things first, this piece says that he's 22. He is, of course, 24. And secondly, is he an upgrade on Basuma? And are you going to spend that kind of money on a backup? Seems odd. Chelsea's 19-year-old defender Lewis Hall, who's on loan at Newcastle, is set to make his move permanent this summer. Okay. Former Bayern Munich, Monaco and Wolfsburg coach Niko Kovac is emerging as a surprise name under consideration to succeed Jurgen Klopp. That's written by someone called David Kent, who I've never heard of, so we're just going to throw that right in the bin. Liverpool could sign Marcus Edwards this summer. I highly doubt it. It's Pete O'Rourke and his sources. Utter nonsense. You'd be better off listening to Indy Kayla. Newcastle have made Morgan Gibbs-White one of their top summer transfer targets. I mean, that would make sense. Chelsea are preparing a bid for Tejan Koopmeiners. Good, yeah. Marcus Rashford is set to stay at Manchester United as PSG have made it clear they have no interest. Tottenham are tracking Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. Could see him fitting well there. Tottenham are also interested in Ricardo Calafiori. He is who I want Liverpool to sign. Spain winger Brian Hill could seek a departure from Tottenham. He could seek. Brian Hill has been at Tottenham about 12 years now, and he's played 4 games. How long has he actually been there? Is it 2 or 3 seasons? This is the end of season number 3. And he's played 23 league games. He's been on loan twice and played 30 league games on those loans. And those loans were only, were they both 6 month? They were 6-month Jones, weren't they? It is time for Brian Hill to leave. He is wasting his career at Spurs. Everton are keen to sign Leander Dendoncker. He'd fit well there. Barcelona are confident Pau Gasparri will sign a new contract. They're also working to extend Lamine Yamal. Bayern Munich have contacted Zinedine Zidane to gauge his interest in succeeding Thomas Tuchel. I think that would be a really good appointment, potentially. Newcastle are expected to offer Kieran Trippier a new contract. That would be a bad decision. Former Argentina and Manchester United defender Gabriel Heinze could be set to join Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta's backroom staff. That would be quite interesting. I'm not sure what Gabriel Heinze has been doing since. I know he has been coaching, but what he's been doing of late. So, right, he took over at Godoy Cruz in June of 2015 and was sacked 3 months later after 2 wins and 6 defeats in 10 games. Then he took over at Argentinos Juniors. He did well. He achieved promotion. Then he went to Villa Sarsfield. Apparently did quite well and left. Went to Atlanta and was sacked after 13 games. And then he went to Newell's Old Boys and didn't seem to do much of anything there. 36% win percentage. You'll have to excuse Molly going nuts. So Argentinos Juniors, he did well. Villa Sarsfield, he seems to have done okay, actually, to be fair to him. So that's 2 good jobs and 2 bad jobs and 1 kind of meh. So there we go. That's it. That's me for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Podcast Network.